Okie dokie. I want to share this with you guys really quickly because many people don't have money to buy a distiller, and many people don't have the time with their busy schedules to wait like 4 to 6 hours for a gallon of water to finish distilling. And you know, many people are on the go and they have to work every day, you name it. So many people, due to that, don't have access at work to water filters, you name it. So this is a great little all-around system I've put together. You know, I used to use glass vessels, but I do travel quite often, and due to that, I just got sick of my vessels breaking and having to pick all the shit up and the water everywhere all over the floor of the car. But if you don't travel a lot, I do recommend using glass, because glass is always a better option to plastic, ladies and gents. But again, I travel often, so I've resorted to this. I'm doing the best with what I've got, and I'm doing the best within the context of the circumstances in my life. So this is an Ocean Spray cranberry container that I've taken the label off of. It holds about 90 ounces of fluid, I believe. And what I have in here, I have 5 pieces of Kishu Binchotan charcoal. This is about 1/4 of a pound of charcoal chunks. And I have about 4 to 6 chunks of untumbled clear quartz chunks. And you know, every night before I go to bed, I fill it up to the top and let it sit overnight, because this stuff, the charcoal, needs about 8 to 12 hours for it to pull a lot of the chlorine compounds and the odors, you name it, out of it. I'm not saying that this is the best form of filtration, because I'd be a liar if I said so. However, it is quite effective. I mean, you can do samples. You can filter your water overnight with this stuff and then pour it into a cup and then drink like your tap water, or you name it, that you've excuse me, brain fart, Jesus. You can take a sample of the non-filtered water, drink it, and then taste a sample of this after 8 to 12 hours or longer of filtration. You will be able to taste a difference, smell a difference. The water looks cleaner, you name it. But you know, I'm not using tap water. When I put the water into this, I'm using filtered water. So I'm taking water out of a Brita water filter, putting it into this with the charcoal chunks, and then I'm letting the charcoal chunks do the rest of the work that the filter didn't do. And you know, the one downside to this system is that it takes 8 to 12 hours to filter your water. It actually takes longer than distillation. However, every night, if you fill your water up, by morning you'll have enough water to get you through the day. And this is about how much water I'm drinking a day now. And I'll be doing this probably for the next 3 to 4 months. So there are periods where I like to dry fast. There are periods where I like to consume less water. But I am consuming more water now. I like the way it makes me feel. It makes my skin glow. My skin isn't as dry. And after reading Dr. Botman Gellige's book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, I felt like I'd do a water cleanse. So I'm drinking a lot less tea now, although there is a special place in my heart for tea. There are certain teas that I adore that I will continue to consume, such as hibiscus, African rooibos, the fermented tea, and Ron Tea Garden's longevity tea, which is a gynostemma tea. They take gynostemma leaves and they take an extract of 5 different herbs, such as lycium, also known as wolfberry, which is known by Westerners as the goji berry. They take schisandra berry and a few different other herbs, and they fortify those herbs into a syrup and extract, which is twice, in my opinion, 10 times stronger than the herbs before they're extracted. And then they dump that molasses extract onto, it's not a molasses extract, but it's a syrup. So I'm comparing it to molasses. They fortify, they dump the extract of the 5 herbs and then fuse it into the gynostemma leaves. And gynostemma is a very interesting herb. That is a very, very powerful herb. It's more powerful than ginseng if you look at the constituents in it. Very, very interesting thing. Not too many Americans are privy to gynostemma, but I do enjoy it. It has kind of an interesting taste. It's kind of sweet, but bitter at the same time. I will make a video in the future about gynostemma and its nutritional properties, but that is not the point of this video. I've gotten to the point now where I'm kind of sick of buying a lot of expensive herbs and things of that nature, at least for the time being. Right now I'm kind of favoring a minimalist ideology, and you know, the fact that water is practically free. I'm just consuming water for the most part, instead of excessive teas and superfoods and all this other stuff. I really don't like the name superfoods, but they are supreme in mineral content and anti-cancerous, antioxidant constituents than many of the other foods on the market, such as the fruits and vegetables. Yes, I'm a big fan of fruit, I'm a big fan of vegetables, but you have to remember that the fruits and the vegetables are being watered with sodium fluoridated water. They're being grown in soils that have been raped of all their fulvic acid and microbial content and sacred elements. And once you realize that a plant or a tree is a mirror of the soil that it grows in and the air that it breathes and the water that it drinks, you'll realize that most of the fruits and vegetables are heavily compromised. You know, they've found traces of fluoride in the fruits, the vegetables, chlorine compounds, you name it. So, the organic movement, I've said it once, I'll say it again, it's a little bit better than conventional store-bought fruits and veg that are grown with N, P, and K only, but it's still garbage. It's nothing like the wild fruits that you'd find in Eden. You know, if you go into the nature, you never find fruit trees growing in rows. You know, the wild fruit trees, the wild edible vegetables, you name it, it grows in a completely different manner. But, anyways, not saying there's something wrong with farming or growing foods like that in rows, but when it's done so by corporations that just want to make money, 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 it creates a big problem here on Earth. So most of the fruits and vegetables are frankenfoods. They're foods that have been hybridized, spliced with strange genetics. They've been stretched out because the more something weighs, the more money you can get for it pound-wise. So they make watermelons into these gigantic dinosaur egg-looking things so they can get a ton of money. It's very weird once you pull your blinders off and you really look at what's going on here in this matrix. So it is raining here in California, and although I am thankful for it, I do know that this is acid rain and it's not too good for the soil. It will make things look green, but man, the weather cycles here in California are so strange compared to what they were when I was younger. And I believe there's a huge weather modification program going on worldwide, but heavily in California too, because there are a lot of conscious movements and people waking up and stimulating Kundalini within California. So there is a huge plot, in my opinion, based on my own experiences with Kundalini, my research, you name it, there is a huge plot to suppress this energy from evolving, the Kundalini energy, because it is a war weapon to evil on the planet, and when evil's running the show, they're going to do everything in their own personal power and agenda to suppress the movement of this energy that's like a fucking mousetrap for all these rats that are controlling the banks and the fucking just everything. So, and you know, that's why I favor things like spirulina, Aphanosomum flossaqua, blue-green algae, shilajit, fulvic acid, reishi mushrooms, Centella asiatica, also known as Goticola brahmi, Bacopa munieri brahmi, false unicorn root, lobelia, cayenne pepper, alfalfa, ginseng, golden seal root, turkey rhubarb, cascara sagrada, alfalfa, cat's claw, dandelion, uva aversi, kava kava, you name it. I favor these things because they are high in nutritional elements that you may or not, they're difficult to find in conventionally bought fruits and vegetables. So AFA blue-green algae has a very sacred tint, phycocyanin violeta. It's filled with B vitamins. It has a ton of protein in it. Its protein structure is very similar to the human body, so it's rapidly absorbed. AFA blue-green algae, also known as Aphanosomum flossaqua blue-green algae, absorbs into the tissues much more rapidly and efficiently than spirulina, also known as Arthrospira platensis. And I do like chlorella, but, you know, algae interest me a lot. Red marine algae. That stuff's fascinating. But the kingpin of the algae is the Aphanisomenum flos aqua blue-green algae, which is grown in Klamath Lake, Oregon. That lake's in a very sacred spot within Oregon because it's in this like canyon, this basin, where there's not a ton of pollution within that area. So algae do pick up a lot of the stuff in the environment around them, and due to the fact that Klamath Lake is so pristine, you get a very nice end product with AFA blue-green algae. So there's some pretty fascinating studies on the effect of blue-green algae for reversing salinity and boosting brain power. But again, I'm going off on a tangent. I wanted to talk about this little system I've devised. This is the poor man's water filter, but by no means is just because it costs less than a $400 or a $2,000 ionizer doesn't mean that this doesn't work very well. Compared to your typical filtered water that you're drinking out of a water filter, this is leaps and bounds beyond in terms of health qualities, because in relation to... Let's try that one more time. Most water filters that you attach to your sink, you name it, when you turn them on, you immediately have water. There's not a lot of time that the water goes through the filter membrane. And due to that, the filter membrane only picks up small amounts and traces of the constituents that you are seeking to pull out of your water. So if you take filtered water and you put it into one of these vessels and let it sit overnight, the activated carbon, the Quixote charcoal, is going to do the rest of the work that the filter didn't do. And proof of that is the way this stuff smells, the way it tastes, and the way it makes me feel. I'll even take distilled water and expose it to the charcoal chunks, which will further, remove some of the volatile organic compounds that have bypassed the charcoal pads in most typical water distillers. People have asked me, is it a requirement to use activated charcoal, activated charcoal in a water distiller? Absolutely. I don't recommend not using a charcoal filter after you've distilled your water, because some of these things, the steam rise with the steam. The VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, rise with the steam and bypass the distillation process and aren't left in the boil kettle. And that's why you see on most new water distillers, you'll have the boil kettle, the coil, and as the steam rises and condenses in the coil, it drops down into a little charcoal bay, and the charcoal bay removes anything that's left, but it doesn't always remove everything that's left in the water. Excuse me, brain fart, I'm tired. That's why sometimes I'll distill 1 gallon up to 3 or 4 times. And usually up till the second or third distillation, I'm pulling residues out of the water. So I've done a handful of experiments with water. I've done hundreds of experiments. Not a handful, hundreds, thousands. And I am just jaw-dropped at how much bullshit is in the water that we're drinking. And what's really interesting, you guys, is that if you get on clean water for 2 to 6 months, you will not only feel the effect that has on your consciousness and your body, but when you go to drink a glass of tap water or smell it, your body is now equipped to be able to recognize the smell of this junk and the taste of this junk, because you've been previously accustomed to the taste of filtered or distilled water. So everyone that I've put on filtered or distilled water, they usually feel the effects of it within the first day. The first month is a very profound period where they feel their consciousness elevating, their minds are becoming clearer, they're feeling healthier, you name it. But everyone that I've put on clean water, when they're even around someone who's drinking tap water, or if they accidentally take a sip of it, your mouth is just flooded with the poisonous taste of these constituents, and that's exactly what they are. So even though they're in small amounts, doesn't matter. You can't just drink algicides and cobalt and, you know, heavy metals, hydrofluorosilicic acid, chloramine compounds, chlorine, scaling lime, inorganic material. You know, it's amazing how much lime the average person has go through their system by the time they're 60 from drinking tap water or spring water. So I'm not a fan of spring water in today's world where pollution is everywhere and acid rain is heavily abundant. The springs are polluted. And that's why I recommend and I condone the usage of water distillation, because I want to get all the bullshit out of the water. I don't care what's in there. I don't care if there's good shit mixed with the bad shit. I'm not going to drink something that has good and bad shit in it. I want to remove everything and rebuild it and exalt it alchemically. I want to remineralize it. I want to vortex it. I want to expose it to positive imagery and sacred sounds, so that when I consume this stuff, I download and mirror the quality of the fluids that I've alchemically produced. Because everything that you put into your body has an effect on your body. So why not do everything you can to make the things that you consume of the best quality? Unless you like consuming shit, and in that case, welcome to America. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I don't eat some vegetarian or vegan junk foods here and there. But my God, it's like many people, this is the staple of their diet. Most people are so deficient in vital constituents, minerals, and elements. It's amazing that this body can last this long, upwards to 80 to 100 years on this system that we're living in. It's amazing how resilient and how patient this body is with our bullshit. It's very tolerant. But this is a largely mental experience to a large extent. The physiology and the mind are very intimately connected. So I do believe that many people, their minds are keeping their bodies alive. Because many of these, it's just amazing to look at the statistics, the heart disease statistics, the diabetes statistics, the mental illness, the autism, all these things, the obesity, the crime rates, all these things, in my opinion, have a direct effect from the foods that we're eating, the fluids that we're drinking, the programs we're watching, and the hypnosis that we're being put under in the sleep, while we're sleeping, and in conscious life. I mean, I'm surrounded by symbolism right now, mind control symbolism. The very fact that we're forced to live in this world where it's... I'm going to wrap this one up. On behalf of the Sacred Starseed Serpent Uraeus YouTube channel, thank you for watching this video. I hope my videos and my channel can help inspire you to do something positive today for your health. Whether that be buying a setup like this and fashioning a setup like that, or just going out and walking barefoot on the earth, or doing something for your pets, or asking forgiveness for something you've done wrong to a loved one, a friend, you name it. A lot of us have a lot of guilt in our consciousness, a lot of engrams that are holding us back because we've done things that have hurt other people. So I'm all about clearing ourselves so that we can be clean. I like to do everything in my power to try to clear my karma, is what I'm getting at. I'm not trying to rant too long. This video is going to shut off before 20 minutes. I have about a minute and a half left. A plastic jug like this can be purchased for $1, between $1 or $6. This is an Ocean Spray cranberry bottle that my dad was drinking off of. It cost $6 for the cranberry juice. Took the label off. The Kishu Binchotan charcoal cost $13.99 from earthshiftproducts.com. I'll put a link in the description box for those who want to buy some. It lasts 4 to 5 months depending on how much you use it. Once a month you need to boil the pieces for about 10 minutes and then let them cool for 30 minutes. Opens the surface area so that you can keep filtering water. And the pieces of clear quartz, you can find clear quartz on the internet. If you're interested in buying it from me, you can click the link in the description box and go over to my website and buy some clear quartz chunks from moi. So essentially this is about a $20 to $25 setup that will last you 4 months or longer, and you need to clear the pieces of quartz every so often and get some sunlight on them and clean them.